ਸਾਡੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਮਾਨਯੋਗ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਜੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ ਨੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੰਖੇਪ 'ਚ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਤੂਫਾਨੀ ਦੌਰਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, is here. Welcome, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Rishi. It's great to be back at RED FM.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, no, it's always
a pleasure. Thank you. So you are in Calgary today.
Yes.
Yesterday you were in Saskatchewan. And day before you were in Toronto.
Yes.
Where you announced $420 million for the green transition for steel plants.
Yep.
Now, all this shows that you are in a election campaign mode.
Actually, it doesn't. It shows that we are getting things done. I think everyone knows that this past year has been very, very difficult, and we've been really focused on supporting people through this pandemic, which has been very, very difficult. But at the same time, we've been working on how to rebuild our economy better, how to support, how to get things going quickly. And as our economy opens up again, there are lots of things to announce, lots of things to be doing. So I've been taking advantage of the fact that our caseloads are now lower, that people are getting vaccinated, to be able to travel a little bit more and make the announcements on things that we've been working on for many, many months.
And you said the parliament seems to be dysfunctional, and Alberta elected 4 Liberal MPs when you came as Prime Minister, and then in 2019 there was no presence of Liberal MP in the Parliament. So how important is it for you, and how does it benefit Calgary to have a voice in the government?
Well, I think it's extremely important to be able to hear directly from voices of people all across the country. I know that you know, having strong Liberal voices in our caucus or around the cabinet table was key to getting big things done for Alberta. Buying the Trans Mountain Pipeline and getting it built happened because we had Amarjeet Sohi around our cabinet table fighting for that and pushing for that, because we know elsewhere across the country there wasn't a strong consensus around moving forward on that, but it was important for us, and we heard directly how important it was for Albertans. So making sure that there are strong voices for Alberta within the Liberal government is a good thing for Alberta and a good thing for Canada.
And speculations are high that Mayor Nahid Nancy and Councillor George Chahal can be the Liberal candidates in the coming elections.
Oh, you know what? I have a tremendous amount of respect for both Nahid and George Chahal, who are amazing community representatives and have worked incredibly hard to get Calgary and indeed people through a very difficult time. And I look forward to continuing to work with them, however things end up happening.
And Prime Minister, the Western Canada has recently experienced extreme climate events. Last year, we had a severe hailstorm, and it cost more than $1 billion in damages. And this year, we have seen extremely high temperatures in British Columbia. So your government has already announced a plan to deal with these climate changes. So will you please speak to this and speak to the economic opportunities for Alberta and Calgary?
Well, first of all, I think Albertans are beginning to understand that the debate over climate change is somewhat settled. We're seeing the impact of extreme weather events. As you mentioned, the hailstorm last year, the floods, the fires, heat waves this year, and it's going to continue. We need to be doing the kinds of things that are going to slow down climate change, and that's quite frankly what this government has been fighting for the past 6 years, putting a price on pollution right across the country, including here in Alberta, is part of making sure that we are not just fighting climate change, but that we're preparing for the jobs and the opportunities of the future, because the energy sector workers here in Alberta need to continue to have great jobs in the energy sector, but the energy sector itself is going to be transforming. We're going to be moving towards more renewables, towards hydrogen, towards more carbon capture and storage, the kinds of things that are world-cutting innovations that are necessary elsewhere around the world as well. There's a tremendous opportunity, and the fact that some politicians here in Alberta have been fighting against even recognizing that climate change is real has slowed down Alberta's ability to prepare for the economic future and the jobs of the future. But as a federal government, we've been there from the very beginning, knowing that it's not a choice between good jobs and protecting the environment. The only way to build good jobs and a stronger economy is to be thoughtful about the environment and our planet at the same time. That's what we've been doing, and we're very excited to see so many Albertans now understanding that and working with us on that.
Yesterday, there was a big announcement, and you announced the new Governor General for us. And in the light of the systemic racism, this is a major and a big news, and people are very much hopeful now. My question is, hate crimes are on rise. We saw the killing of a Muslim family in Toronto, and Quebec passed Bill 21. So there were no stern words on this bill. If such bills are passed, how do you think we may end systemic racism in Canada?
Well, first of all, I have recognized systemic racism and discrimination and fought against it from the very beginning of my being elected as Prime Minister. Protecting people's rights, protecting minorities against, well, Stephen Harper's Conservatives who were talking about banning niqabs and creating snitch lines. And we remember what the Conservatives did around that, and they continue to play those games. We will always stand up for defense of individual rights. When Quebec passed Bill 21, I was very clear in my opposition to it, my disagreement with it, because I don't think government should be in the business of telling people what they can or cannot wear, not in a free country, not in a free society. The issue is that it is not for the federal government to directly pick a fight on provincial governments in areas of their jurisdiction. What is happening, however, which is the way Canada is supposed to work, is individual people in Quebec are taking their government to court to stand up for their rights. And Canada has a system that allows for that. And that's where we are moving forward in the right direction, because the intolerance, the hate crimes, whether it's Islamophobia, whether it's anti-Asian hate crimes, whether it's anti-Semitism, whether it's violence against women, we've seen an increase in that over the past year, partially related, I suspect, to the stresses caused by the pandemic, but also we're in a more polarized world where the hate online, the culture of attacks is very real. And we need to continue to put more tools forward, including, as we did, stronger hate crime legislation that we're putting forward as a government. We will always be a partner to stand for diversity and against intolerance.
And immigration has been the very favorite topic for the Indians and Pakistanis and South Asians in particular. So your government has announced a major program for the temporary resident permit holders to apply for permanent residence in Canada. On the other hand, spouses are waiting to reunite with their families. Similarly, parents are waiting to meet their kids here in Canada. And people who want to attend marriages, who are twice vaccinated, they also want to attend their marriages now. So what are the plans for them, sir?
Well, listen, there are two different issues.
Yes,
One, over the past 5 years, we have massively increased immigration levels, support for family reunification, paths to permanent citizenship for temporary workers. We understand more than anyone else how important immigration is as a driver of a stronger Canada, and we will continue to fight every day for more opportunities for people to come to Canada and contribute and build a better life for themselves, and through that, better life for our country. But this pandemic has been very difficult. We've had to close down the borders to keep Canadians safe, and I know that's been very difficult on many people, on many families, on many industries. But I made a promise from the very beginning of this pandemic that I would have people's backs and I would keep them safe, and that's what we've been doing. Now, as we're starting to reopen our borders, as we're starting to allow for more travel without quarantines, particularly around people who are double vaccinated, we are able to start making up some of the backlog, some of the lost time in bringing families together and bringing new people to Canada, and that's what I'm excited about in the coming months. We will continue to be the party of immigration, the party of welcoming people into Canada, because it's good for our communities, it's good for our country, and mostly it's good for our future.
And when you formed the recent government in 2019, there were discussions about the universal pharmacare program, but now we don't hear about that.
One of the things that we've seen through this pandemic is healthcare is a partnership between provinces and the federal government. And we are happy to work with provinces that want to move forward on pharmacare. We still have very much a goal of a national pharmacare program, but we can't impose it on the provinces. We have to build partnerships on it. It's a little bit similar to what we're doing with childcare. Well, we recognize that childcare is a huge priority for all Canadians, but it's something that provinces have to deliver in partnership with the federal government. And therefore, we've made a commitment to national childcare across the country, and we're working with different provinces to sign agreements that make sure that women have more opportunities, that kids go to school better prepared, and that our economy grows through childcare. And I'm very much looking forward to making big announcements on childcare in the coming weeks.
Oh, that's nice. And when are we going to have federal elections?
You know what? My focus for the past year has been on supporting Canadians to get through this pandemic. And you know the pandemic has been very, very difficult, particularly in communities like the South Asian community in Alberta, where so many people are frontline workers. So many people have had to continue to go to work, even in very difficult circumstances where they couldn't work from home, like so many people are lucky to, because they were supporting others. They were keeping our economy rolling. And that's why we had their backs. That's why we have stepped up. I think across the country, 8 out of every $10 sent in support to Canadians came from the federal government. This is what we've been doing through this pandemic. We will continue to. Obviously now, as we come through this pandemic, we're talking about how we build back better, how we make sure that there are lessons learned from this pandemic and there's proper support for a booming economy in the right ways. And there will be conversations about that. I know there are disagreements. The Conservatives don't see things the same way as we do in terms of supporting people, in terms of investing in communities and small businesses. We will be ready if there's an election, but our focus is on supporting Canadians.
And your final words, sir?
My final words is actually a thank you to RED FM and to all community media across the country. Because through this pandemic, many, many people have been anxious, have been worried about what's going to happen to them and their families. And the messages, the information, the support that you've been there for people on has been unbelievably important. We know we're getting to the end of this pandemic, but we will not get through this pandemic until everyone gets vaccinated and fully vaccinated. I got my first dose of AstraZeneca a few months ago. I got my second dose of Moderna just last Friday, and I'm very excited about being able to do more things, about being protected, about being safer, and keeping my community safer in the coming weeks and months as the world still deals with this pandemic, but Canada makes it through. So my recommendation to everyone is, if you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, please get out there, get your dose. It's safe, it's effective, but mostly it'll keep your loved ones safe too, and it'll help us all get back to normal.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for joining us, for visiting RED FM. And you are the first guest after 16 months in studio.
You are the first in-studio interview I've done in 16 months. So
Thank you very much,
very,
sir.
very happy to make it right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Rishi.
Bye.
ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕਈ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਬਿਹਤਰੀਨ ਡੈਂਟਲ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਵਾਲੀ ਮਸ਼ਹੂਰ ਅਪੋਲੋ ਡੈਂਟਲ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣੀ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਲੋਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਬੀਕਨ ਹਿੱਲ ਨਾਰਥ ਵੈਸਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੋਲ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਓਪਨਿੰਗ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਰੇਟਸ